Good morning, everybody. Now, Labour's war on landlords is continuing. Ed Miliband, who is in charge of all the things to do with climate and climate alarmism and net zero, has proposed something new. Now, already, if you are a landlord and you rent out your property to tenants, you are required to meet an energy rating. Now, behind me, you can see that the energy ratings that we're all familiar with, which are on all of our electrical appliances, particularly appliances that use heat, fridges and cookers and things like that. Now, homes already are required to be at level E on the energy rating. They have to have an energy rating of E and above. But what Ed Miliband has now said is that homes which are in the rented sector must not meet just E, but they must be at least C rating for new homes in the rented sector by 2028, which is only in 3 years' time. And for all homes which are in the rented sector that landlords are renting out to tenants by 2030, which is only 5 years away. Now, this is going to be impossible to meet. Because it's going to cost an awful lot of money. Estimates are that for the homes that are not up to C rating already, it will cost an average of £6,000 per home to get there. And that cost, of course, is just going to go on the bills of the tenants who rent the properties. The landlords ultimately are not going to pay. All tenants will have higher bills, and they already have higher bills because what the government is already doing to hammer landlords in the private rental sector. Now, they're not to say there aren't bad landlords. There are some bad landlords, but most of them that I know are good. You know, I've rented from people in the private rented sector for a number of years, and I've never had a problem really with the landlords that I've rented off of. And many people would say the same. But requiring this energy rating for homes is something relatively new. Now, it was brought in by the last fake Conservative government, and we're all used to them for our energy appliances to give us some information about how much energy they use. But when it's a requirement for homes which are being rented in the private rental sector, what that means is that homes that don't meet the energy level that the government sets cannot be rented out. So this means that homes come off the private rented sector unless they can be retrofitted with whatever measures they need in order to bring them up to this C level, which is now going to be a requirement from 2028 or 2030, depending on the type of home that you've got. And what this means essentially is that they'll have to put in loft insulation, cavity wall insulation, double glazing in all the windows, perhaps put solar panels on the roof, and also have a heat pump rather than a boiler. And of course, heat pumps don't actually provide too much heat when it's very, very cold. So while the government protests that actually it's going to give you warmer homes and cheaper bills, this is their propaganda from the government's website. Warm homes and cheaper bills as government accelerates plan for change. See, it's all about change. We don't need the change that this government, the Labour government, is trying to bring in. We just need some common sense. But you know, the reality is, this was in a paper, a periodical today, the eco bombshell for landlords that could cost £15,000 for each home. See, £6,000 is the average, but for an older home, and there is a lot of beautiful old homes in this country that people love renting out, you know, they're very, very popular. They simply are not going to be able to afford to do all the changes to bring the energy rating of the building up from E or D, whatever it is, to C, but without destroying the building or without actually in the rental of such a building becoming unviable, because they're going to have to put in all of this extra money to meet climate eco targets. So it's actually going to be counterproductive. And what this will lead to are fewer homes for rent. 52% of homes in the UK will be affected by this, which is 2.6 million homes on the rental market. We're going to have improvements you say improvements, but work done in order to meet this C grade rating for building energy efficiency. It's a complete load of nonsense. It shouldn't have to be done. There shouldn't be any requirement for buildings to meet energy efficiency and energy efficiency rating. Yeah, new homes, you could build them new. You can obviously use newer technology. Not that some of the newer technology is actually very good, like heat pumps, for example. But older homes, you know, you can simply destroy the character of an older home, and it's simply impossible to bring older homes up to standards which have been created to meet this non-existent problem. And you know what that is. I have to be careful what I say, because if I spell this out, sometimes my videos get demonetized and cancelled when I talk about this kind of thing. So there we are. Complete nonsense, again, from Labour. The fake Conservatives started it. Labour are continuing it. Of course, the Heritage Party would repeal all of this stuff and not require any such measures to be done to older buildings, which is essentially going to take them off the market so that BlackRock and Vanguard can swoop in and snap them up when they are forced to be sold for pennies on the pound because they don't meet this artificial building energy rating. Nonsense.